An Arab heir was about to die, until his dog discovered what no doctor had noticed. The heart monitor screen emitted a sharp, constant beep. The green line that should have been pulsing was completely flat. The doctors surrounding Tariq al-Hassan's stretcher looked at each other with that expression that everyone recognizes but no one wants to see: resignation. Time of death, 11:17 p.m., announced Dr. Patterson, the head of the trauma team at Manhattan Memorial Hospital, the most expensive and exclusive hospital on the East Coast. He began to pull the white sheet over Tariq's motionless body when a deafening bark echoed from the hallway. Tariq al-Hassan was 28 years old. The only son of Fahad al-Hassan, a billionaire oil magnate with a net worth of $3 billion, Tariq was known in New York's elite circles as the heir who preferred charity dinners to yacht parties. Handsome, educated at Oxford, fluent in 5 languages, and destined to take over an empire that employed 15,000 people on 4 continents. But none of that mattered now. He was dead. 3 hours earlier, Tariq had collapsed during a gala dinner at the Plaza Hotel. No warning. No prior pain. Just a hand on his chest, a choked gasp, and then his knees gave way. Paramedics arrived in 4 minutes. His heart was still beating, but weakly, irregularly, dying. At the hospital, 12 of Manhattan's best doctors worked on him. Cardiologists, neurologists, toxicologists. Blood tests, CT scans, MRIs. Nothing. No apparent cause. No detectable poison. No known disease. Tariq's body was simply shutting down, cell by cell, and no one could explain why. Outside the emergency room, a 4-year-old black and brown German shepherd named Khalid pressed his snout against the windowpane. His body shook violently. His claws scratched the glass, leaving marks. He had been stopped from entering by 3 security guards, but he kept coming back, barking with an urgency that made the nurses stop in the hallway. "Someone get this dog out of here," Dr. Patterson had ordered an hour earlier, irritated by the noise. "This is an ICU, not a kennel." But Khalid wouldn't leave. He couldn't. There was something inside him, some primitive instinct screaming that this was wrong, that it wasn't over, that they were all making a terrible mistake. Tariq and Khalid had been inseparable since the young heir had rescued the puppy from an illegal dogfighting operation 5 years ago. The dog was nearly dead that night, covered in wounds, malnourished, terrified. Tariq found him during a police raid he had anonymously funded. He took the bloodied animal in his arms and whispered, "Never again. No one will ever hurt you again." He named him Khalid, which means immortal in Arabic. And that broken dog became a fierce and loyal guardian, following Tariq everywhere, sleeping at the foot of his bed, traveling on his private jet. Now, as the doctors covered Tariq's face with the sheet, Khalid did something no one expected. He took 3 steps back in the hallway, gained momentum, and threw himself against the glass door with all the force of his 45 kilos. The glass cracked but did not break. Khalid backed up and tried again. Crash. The door exploded into fragments. Alarms went off. Security guards rushed in. But the dog was already inside, jumping on the stretcher, knocking over trays of instruments, barking directly into Tariq's covered face. "Get that animal out of here now." Dr. Patterson roared, trying to grab Khalid by the collar. But then something strange happened. Khalid wasn't just barking. He was frantically sniffing Tariq's right arm, his muzzle pressed against the exposed skin, whimpering in a way that made the nurse's hairs stand on end. Then he did something that froze everyone in the room. Khalid bit. Not hard enough to pierce the skin, but hard enough to pull up the sleeve of the hospital gown, completely exposing Tariq's forearm. "My God," whispered Dr. Chun, a resident who was closest. "What is that?" There was a mark. Tiny. Almost invisible. A small red on the inside of his wrist, so inconspicuous that it looked like nothing more than a mosquito bite. But around it, beneath the translucent skin, was something no one had seen before because no one had looked there. Dark veins. Very dark. Radiating from the dot like black spiderwebs beneath the skin. Dr. Patterson approached with a surgical light. The light revealed what the fluorescent lights on the ceiling had hidden: advanced vascular necrosis. Poisoning. But not just any poison. "This can't be," he muttered, grabbing a magnifying glass. "Someone bring me a toxin identification kit. Now." If you're following this impossible story of survival and loyalty, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Because what these doctors were about to discover about how Tarek was poisoned, and why no test detected it, will completely change what you think about trust and betrayal. The toxin kit arrived in less than 2 minutes. Dr. Patterson applied 3 different chemical tests to the area around the mark. The third test changed from clear to deep dark blue. His hands froze. Latrodectus tridecimgutus, he said, his voice almost inaudible. European black widow. Rare neurotoxic venom. Concentrated dose. The room fell completely silent. Dr. Chun was the first to speak. But that wouldn't show up in standard blood tests. We'd need a specific test for European arachnids, and no one would order that unless we knew to look for a bite, Dr. Patterson finished, looking at Khalid. The dog remained on the stretcher, his muzzle still pressed against Tarek's arm, whimpering softly. 5 minutes later, the antidote was being injected directly into Tarek's central vein. Epinephrine. Specific antivenom. Hyperimmune serum. The team worked with surgical precision as the heart monitor continued to display that flat, dead line. Still no pulse, a nurse murmured. Keep pumping the serum, Dr. Patterson ordered. We have a window of maybe 10 minutes before the neurological damage is irreversible. Meanwhile, in the hallway, 2 NYPD detectives spoke quietly with the hospital security guard who had reviewed the security footage. Fahad al-Hassan, Tarek's father, sat in a nearby chair, his face buried in his hands, his body shaking silently. He was 62 years old and had built his empire from scratch. He had survived economic crises, coups in countries where he operated, attempts at extortion. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the call telling him that his only son was dying without explanation. Mr. Al-Hassan, one of the detectives approached. We need to ask you some questions about your son's last 48 hours. Fahad raised his head, his eyes red. Do whatever you need to do. Find whoever did this. Why do you think someone did this? The detective asked calmly. Because my son is healthy. 28 years old. He runs marathons. He doesn't do drugs. He has no enemies. Fahad paused, his voice breaking. Except mine. The detectives exchanged glances. Explain. Fahad took a deep breath. 3 weeks ago, I blocked a $40 billion corporate merger that would have given me control of natural gas fields in the Caucasus. My main competitor, Viktor Volkov, was furious. He threatened that I would pay dearly for it. Threatened how? He said I would understand the meaning of loss. At the time, I thought he was talking about business. Fahad closed his eyes. I was wrong. Inside the emergency room, something changed. A beep. Faint, but present. Then another. The green line on the monitor began to flicker, forming small irregular peaks. We have a pulse. Dr. Chen exclaimed. 40 beats per minute. Rising. Dr. Patterson checked Tarek's pupils with a flashlight. Responsive. My God, he's coming back. Khalid felt it before any machine could confirm it. His entire body relaxed. His tail began to wag slowly. He licked Tarek's face once, twice, 3 times, as if pulling him back from the abyss. And then, impossible but happening, Tarek's eyes opened. Blurry, confused, but open. Don't try to talk, Dr. Patterson said quickly, adjusting the oxygen. You had a cardiac arrest. You were clinically dead for 7 minutes. Tarek blinked slowly. His eyes found Khalid, still standing on the stretcher beside him. His hand moved weakly, fingers touching the dog's head. He saved my life. Tarek's voice was a rough whisper. Yes, Dr. Chen replied, wiping away tears she didn't know were falling. He found the bite mark we missed. Without him, you would be dead. Tarek closed his eyes again, but this time not from unconsciousness. From emotion. 5 years ago, he had saved Khalid. Today, Khalid had returned the favor. From the hallway came a shout. Fahad had been informed. He burst through the door, security guards trying to hold him back, but Dr. Patterson waved them aside. My son, Fahad whispered, approaching the stretcher. He took Tarek's hand, squeezing it as if to transfer his own life force. I thought I'd lost you. Almost, Tarek murmured. Father, dinner. Someone poisoned me at dinner. The detectives, who had followed Fahad in, immediately approached. "Do you remember anything? Anything different?" Tariq frowned, forcing his memory through the fog of near death. The waiter. He served my glass of wine personally. Insisted. Said it was a rare 1982 Bordeaux, courtesy of the host. He paused. But I wasn't at the main table. Why would they serve me special wine? One of the detectives was already on the phone. "I need a complete list of Plaza Hotel employees who worked at today's event. Now." Fahad turned to Khalid, who remained vigilant at Tariq's side. He reached out and touched the dog's head reverently. "You brought my son back. How can I thank you?" Khalid just looked at him with those dark, intelligent eyes, as if to say, "I was just doing what you would have done for him." But there was something no one in the room knew yet. Something the Plaza Hotel security cameras were about to reveal. The waiter who served the poisoned wine was not a hotel employee. He was an imposter. And in exactly 2 hours, when the police finally tracked him down, they would discover something that would turn attempted murder into an international corporate espionage scandal. 48 hours later, Tariq was sitting on his hospital bed when the detectives returned. This time, they brought a laptop and grim expressions. "We found the waiter," Detective Martinez said, opening the computer. "But he doesn't work for the plaza. He works for Viktor Volkov." Fahad, who hadn't left his son's side since the incident, stood up abruptly. "I knew it. That coward." "There's more," Martinez continued. "We got a warrant for Volkov's corporate emails. We found this." He swiveled the screen. The email was short and brutal. "The son pays for the sins of the father. When Al-Hassan buries Tariq, he'll sign any deal I want. Proceed as planned." The date, 3 days before the gala dinner. Tariq felt nauseous, and it had nothing to do with the poison. "He planned to kill me. For business." "Attempted premeditated murder," Martinez confirmed. "And we have the waiter in custody. He confessed everything in exchange for a plea bargain. Volkov paid him $50,000 to infiltrate the event and poison your drink." The second detective, Silva, added, "Volkov chose European black widow venom because it's rare and difficult to detect in standard autopsies. He bet it would be filed away as a natural heart attack. No investigation. No suspicion." "It almost worked," Fahad said bitterly. "Almost," Silva agreed. "Until your dog broke through a bulletproof glass door and found the one piece of evidence that 12 doctors missed." At that moment, as if sensing they were talking about him, Khalid lifted his head from the foot of the bed where he was resting. Since Tariq woke up, the dog hadn't left his side for more than 10 minutes. "What happens now?" Tariq asked. "Now," Martinez said with a cold smile, "things get interesting. The story leaked to the press 2 hours ago. The poisoning attempt, the email, everything. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. Everyone is covering it." He opened another window on the laptop. The headline on the front page of the New York Times: "Russian billionaire accused of attempting TO murder rival HEIR, dog saves life." Tariq picked up the computer, scrolling through the news. There were photos of Khalid being called a four-legged hero. Videos of experts analyzing how he detected the poison. Articles about canine loyalty saving a human life. And then he saw the consequences for Volkov. His company's stock had plummeted 67% in one day. 6 different boards of directors had voted for his immediate removal as CEO. The Russian government had opened a formal investigation. 3 European countries had frozen his assets. Contracts worth $80 billion had been cancelled. Viktor Volkov, who had tried to kill Tariq to force a business deal, had lost his empire in 48 hours. "He's ruined," Silva said simply. "Completely and utterly ruined. And he'll spend the next 20 to 30 years in federal prison." Fahad sat up slowly, processing. 20 years ago, I was just starting out. I worked 18 hours a day, ate cold sandwiches, slept in the office. I built everything from scratch. And this man tried to take away the only thing that really matters. He looked at Tariq. "You." Tariq held his father's hand. But he didn't succeed. Because of him. He pointed at Khalid. The dog tilted his head, his tail thumping on the floor. 2 days later, Tariq was discharged from the hospital. A crowd of reporters waited outside. Cameras flashed frantically as he walked out with Khalid on a leash, Fahad by his side. "Mr. Al-Hassan," a reporter shouted. "How does it feel to know that your dog saved your life?" Tariq paused, looked at Khalid, then at the cameras. "5 years ago, I found this dog nearly dead. I thought I was saving him. Now I realize we saved each other. He reminded me that loyalty is priceless. That love cannot be bought. And that sometimes heroes don't wear expensive suits or drive luxury cars." He knelt beside Khalid, hugging the animal's neck. "Sometimes," his voice broke, "heroes have 4 legs and a heart bigger than the whole world." Reporters captured the moment. The photo, Tariq hugging Khalid, tears streaming down his face, went viral instantly. 3 million shares in 6 hours. 10 million in 24. And somewhere in a solitary confinement cell, Viktor Volkov watched the news in silence, realizing too late that he had tried to destroy something indestructible, the bond between a man and the animal he saved, and who saved him in return. Justice isn't always served by courts. Sometimes it's served by a loyal dog who refuses to give up when everyone else has. 6 months later, Manhattan Memorial Hospital was unrecognizable. A new wing had been inaugurated, the Khalid Center for Canine Medical Detection. Tariq had donated $15 million to create the nation's first program training dogs to identify conditions that traditional tests missed. The opening ceremony filled the main atrium. Dr. Patterson was there, alongside Dr. Chun and the team that had worked on Tariq that impossible night. Reporters from 17 countries covered the event. Tariq took the podium with Khalid at his side, now wearing a ceremonial collar with his name engraved in gold. "6 months ago," Tariq began, his voice echoing through the silent hall, "I died in this hospital. Clinically dead for 7 minutes. 12 of the world's best doctors couldn't save me." He paused, looking at Khalid. But a dog rescued from illegal fighting, with no degree or formal training, found in seconds what they searched for hours. Not because he was smarter, but because he refused to give up on me the same way I never gave up on him. The audience was completely silent. Viktor Volkov tried to kill me because my father blocked a $40 billion deal. He thought money was worth more than life. He thought power was worth more than humanity. Tariq smiled without humor. Today he is serving 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole. His companies have been liquidated. His $6 billion fortune has been confiscated and distributed to charities. Applause began, but Tariq raised his hand, asking for silence. But this story is not about revenge. It's about choice. Viktor chose greed. I chose to save a dog 5 years ago without expecting anything in return. And that choice saved me. Fahad, sitting in the front row, discreetly wiped his eyes. "This center," Tariq continued, "will train 50 dogs a year to work in hospitals detecting early cancers, hidden infections, rare poisonings. Things that million-dollar machines sometimes miss. Because instinct and loyalty cannot be bought, programmed, or faked." He knelt beside Khalid, holding the dog's face gently. "You didn't just save me that night. You saved me from becoming like Volkov. Someone who measures value in bank account numbers instead of heartbeats. In contracts instead of connections." Khalid licked his face, tail wagging. 3 weeks later, Dr. Patterson welcomed Tariq into his office. "I want to show you something," he said, opening a folder. "Remember when I declared you dead? Hard to forget. I filed the official report as death reversed by external intervention. But I added a note to the file." He handed him the document. Tariq read aloud, "Physician's note. This case demonstrates fundamental limitations of standardized medical protocols. Advanced testing identified 0 anomalies. Traditional diagnosis failed completely. Successful rescue resulted from canine observation of chemical change imperceptible to medical instrumentation. I recommend revision of diagnostic procedures to include unconventional detection methods." "You changed hospital protocols," Tariq said, admiringly. "You and Khalid changed them," Patterson corrected. "Now we train doctors to look for what they don't expect to find. To listen when someone or something insists we're missing something. Arrogance kills. Humility saves." That night, Tariq sat on the terrace of his Upper East Side apartment. The city sparkled below him, 8 million lives pulsing in the darkness. Khalid rested his head on his lap. You know what's funny? Tariq said softly, stroking the soft fur. Victor had $6 billion. He controlled companies in 20 countries. He had power most people can't even imagine. And yet he died alone. With no one by his side. No one who cared. Khalid moaned softly. I almost died too. But when I woke up, you were there. My father was there. People who loved me were there. Victor learned too late that you can't buy loyalty. You can't outsource love. You can't fake the kind of connection that makes someone break through a glass door to save you. He looked up at the stars appearing above the skyscrapers. They say you saved me. But the truth? We saved each other. 5 years ago and 6 months ago. And we'll keep saving each other every day until the last. A year later, Tariq and Khalid's story became a Netflix documentary, a best-selling book, and inspired 17 similar canine detection programs in hospitals around the world. 53 lives were saved in the first year by dogs trained at the Khalid Center. Because in the end, the lesson wasn't about revenge or justice. It was about choosing connection over control, compassion over greed, loyalty over power. Viktor Volkov tried to buy the world and lost everything. Tariq saved a dog without expecting anything in return and got his own life back. Sometimes the best business decision you can make is one that has nothing to do with business. Sometimes the best investment is in something that will never generate a profit but can save your life when no one else can. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel for more stories about loyalty, justice, and the unlikely heroes who change everything. Because sometimes the greatest rescues don't come from where we expect, but from those who never give up on us.